The mountain is you. We often look at our lives and see obstacles that appear to be insurmountable. We see a difficult job market, a lack of resources, a toxic relationship, or bad timing. We treat these problems as if they are mountains standing between where we are and where we want to be. We convince ourselves that if only the mountain were moved, we would be happy. However, the hardest truth you will ever have to accept is that the mountain is not in front of you. The mountain is you. The obstacles in your life are rarely external barriers that cannot be crossed. They are almost always internal resistance mechanisms that you have built to keep yourself safe. The mountain is the accumulation of your trauma, your fears, your coping mechanisms, and your unresolved emotional baggage. It is the gap between your current reality and your ultimate potential. To climb this mountain, you do not need to conquer the world. You need to conquer yourself. Before we begin, I have a simple question for you. What is the one goal you have been trying to achieve for years, but just cannot seem to make happen? Let me know in the comments below. Introduction. The mountain metaphor. There is a profound misconception that a happy life is a linear journey of upward mobility. We believe that we should be constantly improving, earning more, loving deeper, and feeling better. When we face adversity, we view it as a mistake or a failure. We think that something has gone wrong. However, nature teaches us a different lesson. In nature, destruction is often the precursor to creation. A forest fire is terrifying and destructive, yet it is essential for the ecology of the forest. The heat opens seeds that would otherwise remain dormant, and the fire clears away the dead brush to allow new life to grow. Your life operates on the same principle. The breakdowns you experience are not signs that you are broken. They are signs that you are ready to be rebuilt. The mountain represents the conflicting needs within you. One part of you wants to grow, to expand, and to see what is on the other side. This is your conscious mind, the part of you that sets goals and dreams of a better future. But another part of you wants to stay exactly where you are. This is your unconscious mind, the part of you that prioritizes safety and familiarity above all else. When these two forces collide, the desire for growth and the desire for safety, a mountain rises up. This mountain is made of resistance. Historically, mountains have always been metaphors for spiritual awakening and personal triumph. Standing at the bottom, the peak seems impossible to reach. The path is unclear, the terrain is rough, and the journey requires an exertion of energy that feels daunting. But the mountain is not there to stop you. It is there to show you who you are. The person you are at the bottom of the mountain is not the same person who will stand at the top. To navigate the climb, you must shed the weight of your past. You must let go of the identity that is keeping you stuck. Most people only face their mountain when they hit rock bottom. We tend to avoid change until the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of changing. Rock bottom is not a tragedy. It is a turning point. It is the moment when you stop digging a deeper hole and start looking for a way out. It is the moment when you realize that your old coping mechanisms, drinking, scrolling, avoiding, blaming, are no longer working. They are no longer numbing the pain. They are causing it. When you hit this point, you have a realization that changes everything. You decide that you never want to feel this way again. This is not just a wish. It is a vow. It is a fundamental shift in your identity. You stop looking for someone to save you and realize that you must save yourself. You stop waiting for the mountain to move and start learning how to climb. The journey begins with the understanding that the block is not the world. The block is you. And if you built the mountain, you can also dismantle it. Chapter 1. The true nature of self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is one of the most misunderstood concepts in personal development. Most people believe that self-sabotage is a result of self-hatred. They think they ruin their own success because they deep down believe they do not deserve it, or because they are masochistic and want to suffer. This view is damaging because it adds shame to an already difficult situation. If you think you are sabotaging yourself because you are broken or stupid, you will only hide your behavior and hate yourself more. The truth is that self-sabotage is not self-hatred. It is a misguided form of self-love. It is a biological mechanism designed to protect you. Your brain is wired for survival, not for happiness. To your primitive brain, survival means sticking to what is known and familiar. Anything unknown, even if it is positive like a promotion or a healthy relationship, is perceived as a threat. Therefore, self-sabotage is simply your subconscious mind trying to pull you back to your comfort zone. It is an act of self-preservation. Consider the story of Carl Jung. As a child, he fell and hit his head at school. He realized that when he was hurt, he did not have to go to class. He hated school and felt alienated from his peers. Soon after, he began to have fainting spells every time he had to return to the classroom. He wasn't faking it. His body was physically reacting to his unconscious desire to escape an uncomfortable situation. He was sabotaging his education to protect himself from social anxiety. This is how sabotage works. It is a maladaptive coping mechanism. It solves a short-term problem by creating a long-term disaster. We engage in self-sabotage when we have an unmet need that we are not addressing directly. If you are overworked and refuse to take a break, you might sabotage yourself by getting sick or procrastinating until a crisis forces you to stop. Your body is giving you the rest you refuse to give yourself. If you feel insecure in a relationship, you might sabotage it by picking fights. You are trying to get your partner to prove their love. Or you are trying to end the relationship on your terms so you do not have to face the vulnerability of being left. In every instance, the sabotaging behavior is serving a purpose. It is meeting a need for safety, control, or relief. One of the primary drivers of self-sabotage is the fear of the unknown. Human beings have a psychological set point, often called the upper limit. This is the amount of happiness, success, or wealth that we feel comfortable having. This limit is usually set in childhood. If you grew up in a chaotic home, chaos feels normal to you. If you suddenly find yourself in a peaceful, stable relationship, it will feel boring or even terrifying because you are waiting for the other shoe to drop. Your brain interprets the calm as a threat because it is unfamiliar. To return to a state of safety, you might create drama or push the person away. You are sabotaging your happiness to return to your baseline of chaos, which feels safer because it is predictable. Negative associations are another major source of sabotage. We often hold unconscious beliefs that link our goals to negative outcomes. For example, you might consciously want to be wealthy. You work hard and set goals, but unconsciously, you might believe that rich people are greedy, unethical, or lonely. You might fear that if you get rich, your friends will envy you or your family will ask for money. Because of these hidden fears, you will sabotage your financial success. You will overspend, miss opportunities, or undersell your services. You are protecting yourself from the imagined negative consequences of success. This dynamic also plays out in our emotional lives. We might sabotage our own healing because we have identified with our pain. If you have been the victim for a long time, being a survivor feels alien. You might worry that if you get better, people will stop giving you attention or support. You might fear that if you are no longer depressed, you will have no excuse for not achieving your potential. Staying in the pain becomes a way to lower expectations and avoid the pressure of living a full life. To overcome self-sabotage, you must first stop judging yourself for it. You must recognize that your behaviors, no matter how destructive, are trying to help you. They are trying to keep you safe, comfortable, and protected. Once you understand the positive intent behind the negative behavior, you can find a better way to meet that need. If you are procrastinating to avoid anxiety, you can learn to manage anxiety through breath work or breaking tasks into smaller steps rather than avoiding the work entirely. If you are eating to soothe emotional pain, you can learn to process your emotions directly rather than numbing them with food. You must also be willing to be uncomfortable. Growth is inherently uncomfortable because it requires you to step into the unknown. You have to be willing to feel the anxiety of the new and do it anyway. You have to teach your brain that different does not mean dangerous. You have to expand your upper limit by slowly acclimating yourself to higher levels of success and happiness. Finally, you must get out of denial. Self-sabotage thrives in the dark. It feeds on our refusal to look at what is really going on. We make excuses. We blame other people. We tell ourselves that we are just unlucky. But deep down, we know the truth. We know that we are the ones standing in our own way. The moment you take full responsibility for your life is the moment you reclaim your power. You stop being a victim of your own patterns and start becoming the architect of your own future. You realize that while you cannot control everything that happens to you, you can control how you respond. And in that response lies your freedom. The mountain is steep and the climb is hard, but the view from the top is worth every step. Chapter 2. The Many Masks of Resistance. Self-sabotage rarely announces itself as a deliberate attempt to ruin your life. It is far more subtle and insidious than that. It disguises itself as personality quirks, logical excuses, or unavoidable circumstances. When you habituate yourself to behaviors that move your life forward, you call them skills. When those same behaviors hold you back, they are self-sabotage. They are essentially the same function, just applied in a different direction. To dismantle the mountain, you must first be able to identify the specific rocks that comprise it. You must unmask the behaviors that pretend to be helpful, but are actually keeping you stuck. One of the most common forms of resistance is what is known as the upper limit problem. This concept suggests that every person has an internal thermostat for how much happiness, success, and love they allow themselves to experience. This setting is usually determined by your background, your family history, and your past trauma. When you exceed this limit, when things are going too well, your subconscious mind hits a panic button. It feels unsafe to be this happy because you are waiting for the other shoe to drop. To regain a sense of control, you subconsciously manufacture a crisis to bring yourself back down to a level of emotion that feels familiar and manageable. You might land a massive promotion at work and immediately pick a fight with your spouse. You might finally get into excellent physical shape and then suddenly binge eat for a week. You are not weak. You are simply regulating your internal temperature. The only way to solve this is to slowly acclimate yourself to feeling good. You must teach your nervous system that happiness is safe and that you do not need to pay for your joy with suffering. Another pervasive mask is perfectionism. We often wear perfectionism as a badge of honor, believing it means we have high standards and a commitment to excellence. In reality, perfectionism is a defense mechanism. It is a shield we use to protect ourselves from the pain of judgment. If you never finish the project, no one can tell you it is bad. If you never launch the business, you cannot fail. Perfectionism is not about striving for the best. It is about avoiding the vulnerability of being seen. It is the belief that if you can just look perfect, act perfect, and work perfect, you can avoid the shame of being human. The problem is that perfection does not exist. Therefore, the perfectionist is trapped in a cycle of endless preparation. They are always getting ready to start. They are editing the first chapter for the 10th time. They are researching the best diet, but never actually eating a vegetable. This is sabotage in its purest form because it kills momentum. It prevents you from getting the feedback you need to actually improve. You must realize that done is better than perfect. You must be willing to be messy and average in the beginning so that you can eventually become great. Uprooting is another deceptive form of sabotage. This occurs when a person constantly changes their external circumstances whenever things get difficult or boring. They move to a new city, change jobs, or swap partners in a relentless pursuit of a fresh start. On the surface, this looks like adventure and growth. It looks like a person who is refusing to settle. But often, it is a way to avoid doing the deep internal work. If you leave every relationship the moment it requires vulnerability or compromise, you never learn how to connect deeply with another human being. If you quit every job the moment it becomes challenging, you never build resilience or mastery. You are simply skimming the surface of life. You are addicted to the honeymoon phase of everything because the reality phase requires you to face yourself. You cannot run away from your problems because you are the one carrying them. Wherever you go, there you are. True growth requires you to stay put and work through the discomfort rather than fleeing to the next distraction. We also sabotage ourselves through disorganization and busyness. Living in a messy environment or having a chaotic schedule is often a subconscious strategy to keep ourselves distracted. If you are constantly losing your keys, paying late fees, and rushing from one appointment to the next, you do not have the mental bandwidth to focus on your true purpose. The chaos serves as a buffer. It keeps you in a state of low-level survival mode, so you never have to face the scary work of self-actualization. Being busy is often used as a status symbol. We tell people how busy we are to prove our importance, But busyness is not a virtue. It is often a sign of an inability to prioritize and a fear of being alone with one's thoughts. If you slowed down, you might have to feel the emotions you have been running from. If you organized your life, you would have no excuse not to write that book or start that business. The mess gives you an out. It allows you to say that you would do the big things if only you had the time. To climb the mountain, you must stop treating your chaos as a lifestyle choice and recognize it as a barrier you have erected to keep yourself small. Finally, we sabotage through pride and judgment. When we judge others for having what we want, we create a psychological barrier to getting it ourselves. If you judge wealthy people as evil or greedy, you will subconsciously prevent yourself from becoming wealthy to avoid becoming evil in your own eyes. If you mock people who are happy and optimistic as being naive, you will cling to your cynicism to prove you are smart. Your mind always seeks to align your actions with your identity. If your identity is built on judging success, you will not allow yourself to succeed. You must learn to bless what you want. You must admire the people who have achieved what you desire, rather than tearing them down to make yourself feel better about not having it. Chapter 3. Emotional Intelligence and Triggers. A significant portion of the mountain you are facing is made of unprocessed emotion. Many of us were raised in environments where we were taught that certain feelings were bad or dangerous. We learned to suppress anger, hide sadness, and deny envy. We were told to be nice, to be grateful, and to keep a stiff upper lip. But emotions are not moral. They are not good or bad. They are data. They are feedback mechanisms from your psyche, telling you about your interaction with the world. Emotional intelligence is not just about being nice or empathetic. It is the ability to interpret these signals rather than silencing them. It is the ability to look at a feeling and understand what it is trying to tell you. When we suppress emotions, they do not disappear. They burrow into the subconscious and the body, becoming what we call triggers. A trigger is an unhealed wound. It is a spot in your psyche that is tender and reactive. When someone touches it, your reaction is disproportionate to the event. If your boss gives you mild constructive criticism and you spiral into a panic attack or a rage, that is a trigger. It is not about the boss. It is about a past wound involving rejection or inadequacy that has not been cleaned out. The trigger is a map. It shows you exactly where you need to heal. Instead of avoiding triggers, you should listen to them. They are showing you the parts of yourself that you have abandoned. Anger, for instance, is one of the most misunderstood emotions. We are often taught that anger is destructive, but in its healthy form, anger is a boundary. It tells you that something has been violated. It tells you that you have a need that is not being met, or that you are in a situation that is unjust. Anger is an energizing force. It is meant to mobilize you into action to change a situation. When you suppress anger, it turns into depression, which is essentially anger turned inward. It turns into passive aggression and resentment. But when you listen to anger, it becomes self-respect. It gives you the energy to say no, to leave a toxic situation, or to stand up for what you believe in. Envy is another powerful guide. We are taught that jealousy is ugly and that we should be happy for everyone. But envy is actually a map of your desires. You are only envious of people who have something you are capable of having, but are denying yourself. You are not jealous of the Queen of England, because that is not a realistic path for you. You are jealous of your friend who started a bakery, because you secretly want to bake. You are jealous of the couple holding hands, because you crave intimacy. Instead of letting envy turn into bitterness, let it show you what you want. Let it reveal the potential that is dormant within you. Sadness is the emotion of release. It is how we process loss and let go of what is no longer working. Sadness requires us to slow down and retreat. It demands that we acknowledge that something matters to us and that it is gone. When we resist sadness, we get stuck in the past. We cannot move forward because we are carrying the weight of everything we refuse to grieve. We try to numb the pain with distractions, but the grief waits for us. To heal, you must be willing to feel the depth of your loss. You must cry until you are empty, so that you can be filled with something new. A critical distinction in emotional intelligence is understanding the difference between a gut instinct and fear. People often claim their anxiety is their intuition warning them. They say they have a bad feeling about something and use it as an excuse to retreat. However, there are distinct differences between these two internal voices. True intuition is usually quiet and calm. It focuses on the present moment. It says simple things like, "Do not get in that car," or "This person is safe." It is a subtle knowing that does not require justification. Fear, on the other hand, is loud, frantic, and obsessive. It focuses on the future. It creates complex worst-case scenarios and argues with you. It races and loops. Fear tells you a story. Intuition gives you a nudge. If you are running a mental movie of a disaster that has not happened yet, that is not your gut. That is your trauma. That is your amygdala trying to predict and control the future to keep you safe from a perceived threat. To dissolve the mountain, you must learn to sit with your feelings without acting on them immediately. This is the practice of processing. In our modern world, we are constantly distracted. We have endless ways to numb out. We scroll through social media, we watch television, we eat sugar, we drink alcohol. We do anything to avoid the discomfort of being alone with ourselves. But the only way out is through. You must learn to create space for your emotions. This can be done through what is sometimes called junk journaling. This is where you write down everything you are thinking and feeling without filtering it. You let the rage, the pettiness, the sadness, and the fear pour out onto the page. You do not judge it. You just let it out. You can also practice simply sitting with the sensation in your body. Where do you feel the anger? Is it a heat in your chest? Where do you feel the sadness? Is it a heaviness in your throat? By observing the physical sensation of the emotion, you detach from the story your mind is telling you about it. You realize that an emotion is just energy moving through the body. It rises, it peaks, and if you do not resist it, it falls. By validating your own feelings, you release the pressure valve. You stop looking to other people to tell you that you are okay. You stop being a slave to your reactions and start becoming the master of your responses. You realize that you can feel angry without punching a wall. You can feel sad without collapsing. You can feel afraid and still take action. This emotional resilience is the fuel you will need to climb the rest of the mountain. It is the understanding that you can handle whatever you feel, and therefore you can handle whatever life throws at you. Chapter 4. The Physiology of Change. You cannot change your life simply by changing your thoughts, because you are not just a mind. You are also a body. This is the missing link in most personal development advice. We try to use willpower and logic to override behaviors that are deeply rooted in our physiology. The human body is governed by a principle called homeostasis. This is the biological directive to maintain a stable internal environment. Your body wants to keep your temperature, your heart rate, and your chemical levels within a specific safe range. This same principle applies to your psychology. Your nervous system has a set point for what feels normal. If you are used to high stress, calmness will feel terrifying because it is a deviation from your norm. If you are used to being treated poorly, kindness will feel suspicious. This is why sudden, radical transformation is often a myth. We love the idea of the breakthrough. We fantasize about the moment when the lightning strikes, the epiphany hits, and everything changes overnight. We want to wake up one morning and be a completely different person. But biologically, radical change is perceived as a threat. If you try to overhaul your entire life on a Monday morning, adopting a new diet, a brutal workout regime, a new sleep schedule, and a new personality, your body's homeostatic alarm system will trigger. It will flood you with cortisol and resistance. By Wednesday, you will be exhausted, irritable, and back to your old habits. This is not because you are weak or lack discipline. It is because you triggered a survival response. Your subconscious mind pulled you back to your baseline to keep you safe. The most effective way to climb the mountain is not through massive leaps, but through microshifts. A microshift is a change so small that it flies under the radar of your resistance. It does not trigger the fear response because it feels manageable. Instead of deciding to write a best-selling novel, you decide to write one sentence today. Instead of deciding to lose 50 pounds, you decide to drink one extra glass of water. These actions seem insignificant, almost trivial, but their power lies in their consistency. When you repeat a small action daily, you begin to retrain your nervous system. You are slowly adjusting your thermostat. Putting on your running shoes every day, even if you do not run, builds the identity of a runner. Eventually, walking out the door becomes easy. Then running a mile becomes normal. You are stretching your comfort zone by inches rather than miles. This sustainable approach prevents the snapback effect where you burn out and revert to your old ways. You are building a new normal, brick by brick. To master the physiology of change, you must also understand the concept of anti-fragility. Systems that are fragile break under stress. Systems that are robust resist stress and stay the same. But systems that are anti-fragile actually get better with stress. The human mind and body are designed to be anti-fragile. Your muscles need the stress of lifting weights to grow stronger. Your immune system needs exposure to pathogens to build antibodies. Your mind needs challenges to develop resilience. The problem is that modern life often allows us to avoid discomfort entirely. We have temperature control, food delivery, and endless entertainment. We try to shield ourselves from every negative emotion and every difficult situation. By avoiding stress, we make ourselves fragile. We become anxious because we do not trust our ability to handle adversity. Anxiety is often the result of underthinking rather than overthinking. We think enough to scare ourselves with a worst-case scenario, but we do not think far enough to find a solution. We imagine the disaster and stop there, leaving our bodies in a state of panic. To engage your anti-fragility, you must think the fear all the way through. If the worst happens, what exactly would you do? How would you cope? By creating a plan, you signal to your brain that you are capable of handling the threat, which allows the anxiety to subside. This chapter teaches us a crucial lesson about discomfort. Discomfort is not always a sign that you are doing something wrong. Often, it is a sign that you are doing something right. It is the feeling of the old self dying and the new self being born. Growth is inherently uncomfortable. It feels like stretching, tearing, and expanding. If you wait until you feel ready or good to act, you will wait forever. You must learn to disconnect your actions from your fluctuating emotions. You must act according to your principles, not your momentary feelings. When you take action despite the discomfort, you prove to your nervous system that you are safe. You expand your world. You turn the mountain from a barrier into a training ground. Chapter 5. Releasing the past and trauma. You cannot build a new future on the foundation of a broken past. Many of us are trying to climb the mountain while carrying a backpack filled with rocks from 20 years ago. We carry the memory of every failure, every rejection, and every heartbreak. We call this baggage, but it is more accurate to call it unprocessed trauma. Trauma is not just a mental event, it is a physiological one. It changes the way your brain processes information and keeps you locked in a state of hypervigilance. When we are traumatized, we disconnect from the present moment. We live in a loop of the past. Our brains are constantly scanning the environment for threats that remind us of the original pain. This prevents us from seeing the opportunities right in front of us. You might reject a kind and stable partner because they remind you of a chaotic ex, not because they are similar, but because your brain has associated intimacy with danger. You might refuse a promotion because you fear the visibility that once led to ridicule in a classroom decades ago. You are not responding to reality. You are responding to a ghost. Healing requires us to metabolize these experiences. We often think that letting go means deleting the memory or pretending it did not happen. But you cannot delete your history. Letting go means integrating the experience so that it no longer controls you. It means moving the memory from the part of the brain that feels like a current threat to the part of the brain that stores narrative history. It becomes a story you tell, not a life you are currently living. One effective psychological technique for releasing the past is to revisit the memory, not to relive the pain, but to bring your current, wise adult self into the scene. Close your eyes and imagine the moment of trauma. See your younger self there, frozen in fear or shame. Now imagine your adult self entering the room. Walk over to your younger self. Tell them what they needed to hear in that moment. Tell them that they are safe. Tell them that it was not their fault. Tell them that they survived and that you are here now to protect them. This visualization can help complete the emotional cycle that got stuck. It provides the safety and validation that was missing at the time. We also have to let go of the phantom life. This is the life we thought we would have. Maybe you thought you would be married by 30, or that you would be a famous athlete, or that your parents would finally be proud of you. Grieving the loss of this potential life is necessary to accept your actual life. You have to mourn the version of you that did not make it. You have to mourn the timeline that dissolved. If you keep clinging to how things should have been, you will miss how things are. You will be bitter and resentful, constantly comparing your reality to a fantasy. There is a concept called clearing the path. We often view loss as a tragedy. When a relationship ends, or we lose a job, or a friend drifts away, we panic. We try to grip tighter. But often the universe is clearing the path for what is actually meant for us. What is truly yours cannot be lost. If something has left, it is because it was blocking the arrival of something better. It was taking up space that needed to be empty. Holding on to things that want to leave is a recipe for suffering. It is like trying to hold back the tide. You must trust the timing of your life. You must trust that the people and opportunities that are meant for you will not require you to destroy yourself to keep them. When you release the past, you create a vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so does your life. When you clear out the old, you invite the new. You signal that you are ready for the next chapter. Healing is a process of becoming whole again. It is realizing that you are not the things that happened to you. You are the consciousness that experienced them and survived. Your scars are not signs of damage, they are signs of resilience. They prove that you are stronger than what tried to hurt you. By processing your emotional backlog, you lighten your load. You stop climbing the mountain with a heavy pack and start climbing with freedom. You realize that the past is a library of lessons, not a prison of pain. And with that realization, you are finally free to move forward. Chapter 6. Architecture of the Future. Once you have cleared the debris of the past and learned to regulate your emotional responses, you arrive at a pivotal moment in the climb. You are no longer weighed down by the baggage of who you used to be, but you have not yet fully become the person you want to be. This is the phase of construction. You must become the architect of your own future. This process begins not with a to-do list, but with a vision. You must connect with what is known as your highest potential future self. This is not a fantasy or a daydream. It is a visualization technique used to access the wisdom that you already possess, but have not yet unlocked. Imagine a version of yourself 5 years from now who has already climbed the mountain. This version of you has solved the problems you are currently losing sleep over. They have established the habits you are struggling to build. They are walking, talking, and living in a way that embodies your highest values. To build your future, you must consult this version of yourself daily. When you are faced with a difficult decision, you do not ask what you feel like doing. You ask what your future self would do. This creates a bridge between your current reality and your desired destination. It pulls you forward. However, a vision without a structure is just a hallucination. To manifest this future self, you must rely on principles rather than inspiration. This is where most people fail. We live in a culture that worships motivation. We watch videos, listen to speeches, and wait for a surge of energy to compel us to act. But inspiration is a feeling, and like all feelings, it is fickle. It comes and goes like the weather. If you only build your life when you feel inspired, you will be inconsistent, and inconsistency kills progress. Principles, on the other hand, are rules. They are non-negotiable laws that you set for your own life. A principle is a decision that has already been made. For example, a financial principle might be that you save 20% of your income before you spend a dime. A health principle might be that you move your body for 30 minutes every day, regardless of how tired you are. A relationship principle might be that you do not tolerate disrespect, no matter how much you love the person. When you live by principles, you remove the burden of decision fatigue. You do not have to wake up every morning and ask yourself if you feel like working out. The decision was already made by your principles. You simply execute the plan. This architectural phase also requires you to redefine your understanding of purpose. Finding your purpose is often a source of immense anxiety for modern people. We tend to view purpose as a singular magical job title, that is waiting for us to discover it under a rock. We think that once we find it, work will become effortless and we will be perpetually happy. This is a dangerous myth. Your purpose is not a job. Your purpose is the intersection of your skills, your interests, and the needs of the world. It is the unique way in which you can add value to the lives of others. Your purpose is also deeply connected to your wounds. Very often, the thing we are meant to do is to help others survive what we have survived. If you have healed yourself from chronic anxiety, your purpose might be teaching others how to find peace. If you have navigated the confusing world of entrepreneurship, your purpose might be mentoring young business owners. Your deepest pain often holds the key to your greatest contribution because it has given you empathy and authority. It is crucial to distinguish between your job and your purpose. Your job is what you do to earn money. Your purpose is how you affect the world. You can live your purpose in any job. You can bring kindness, excellence, and leadership to a role as a barista just as effectively as you can to a role as a CEO. When you stop looking for a job to define you and start bringing your purpose to whatever you are doing, you regain your agency. You realize that you are not defined by your title but by the quality of your presence. Building a new future also means embracing the mundane. We often imagine that transformation happens in giant leaps and dramatic moments. We think of the movie montage, where the protagonist changes their life in 3 minutes, set to upbeat music. Real life is different. Your future self is built in the quiet, unglamorous moments. It is built by the way you spend your Tuesday mornings, not just your Saturday nights. It is built by the food you eat, the books you read, the time you go to sleep, and the thoughts you entertain when no one is watching. If you want to change your life, you have to change your day. You have to design a daily routine that supports the person you are becoming. This means protecting your energy. It means setting boundaries with people who drain you. It means prioritizing your sleep and your mental health above the demands of others. It means understanding that saying no to good things is necessary so that you can say yes to great things. The architecture of your future is composed of the bricks of your daily habits. If the bricks are weak, the house will fall. If the bricks are strong, you will build a fortress that can withstand any storm. Chapter 7. Achieving Self-Mastery. The summit of the mountain is self-mastery. Reaching this point does not mean that you are perfect or that you never experience pain again. It means that you have fundamentally changed your relationship with yourself and the world. Self-mastery is the ability to observe your thoughts and emotions without being hijacked by them. It is the transition from being a reactive creature to being a creative creator. In Eastern philosophy, the untrained mind is often compared to a wild monkey. It jumps from branch to branch, screaming, chattering, and causing chaos. Most people let this monkey run their lives. They follow every fearful thought down a rabbit hole. They react impulsively to every provocation. They are slaves to their own neurochemistry. Self-mastery is the process of training the monkey. It is recognizing that you are not your thoughts. You are the thinker of the thoughts. You are the sky, and your thoughts are just clouds passing through. The clouds may be dark and stormy, but they cannot harm the sky. When you achieve self-mastery, you move from a survival state to a thriving state. In survival mode, your operating system is fear. You are driven by scarcity, competition, and the need for immediate gratification. You view the world as a hostile place where you must fight to get yours. In a thriving state, your operating system is vision. You are driven by abundance, collaboration, and long-term planning. You view the world as a place of opportunity where there is enough for everyone. This shift in perspective changes everything. It changes how you do business, how you love, and how you lead. One of the most significant markers of self-mastery is the release of the need for external validation. When you are at the bottom of the mountain, you are constantly looking to others to tell you that you are okay. You measure your worth by your likes, your salary, and the approval of your peers. You might even be driven by a desire for revenge. You want to succeed, to prove your detractors wrong. You want the revenge body or the revenge career. But as you climb higher, you realize that success built on spite is just another form of bondage. If you are succeeding to impress people who do not care about you, they are still controlling you. True mastery is when you no longer care about proving anything to anyone. You pursue excellence because it feels good to you. You maintain your health because you respect your body, not because you want to be looked at. You prioritize inner peace over temporary happiness. You realize that happiness is a weather condition that comes and goes, but peace is the solid ground beneath your feet. This level of mastery leads to a profound humility. You realize that you are not the center of the universe. The spotlight effect, the belief that everyone is watching and judging you, fades away. You understand that everyone else is struggling with their own mountain. This fosters deep compassion. You stop taking things personally. If someone is rude to you, you recognize it as a symptom of their own pain, not a reflection of your worth. You become unoffendable. You become a steady force in a chaotic world. Self-mastery also involves accepting the cyclical nature of life. You understand that you will never be finished. There is no point where you can stop growing. Just as nature has seasons, your life has seasons. There are seasons for planting, seasons for harvesting, and seasons for resting. The master does not resist the winter. They know that the rest of winter is necessary for the bloom of spring. You stop trying to force endless productivity and learn to flow with the rhythms of your own energy. Ultimately, self-mastery is the realization that the power you were looking for was never outside of you. It was not in the money, the status, or the relationship. It was in your ability to govern your own internal world. It was in your capacity to choose your response to any situation. When you have this power, you are free. You can walk through the fire and not be burned. You can face the mountain and not be intimidated. You become the mountain, strong, grounded, and immovable. Conclusion: the view from the top. The journey up the mountain is arduous. It requires you to burn away everything that is not essential. It asks you to let go of the victim mentality, the comfort of the known, and the addiction to your own suffering. It demands that you take full responsibility for a life that you did not necessarily choose, but is entirely yours to curate. But the view from the top is clarity. When you finally overcome self-sabotage, you realize a paradoxical truth. The mountain was never really in the way. The mountain was the way. The obstacles you faced were not blocking your path. They were the curriculum you needed to learn to become the person you were meant to be. Without the resistance, you would not have developed the strength. Without the confusion, you would not have developed the wisdom. Every stumble, every fall, and every moment of doubt was a necessary part of your evolution. You will never be finished. There will always be new mountains. Life will continue to present you with challenges because life is a mechanism for growth. But once you have climbed this one, the one made of your own internal resistance, you will have the tools to climb any peak that lies ahead. You will know that you are safe. You will know that you are capable. You will know that you are the creator of your own life. The mountain is you, but so is the climber and so is the triumph. If this deep dive into transforming self-sabotage helped you see your own mountains more clearly, I invite you to subscribe. By joining our community, you will get weekly insights on psychology, personal growth, and mastering the internal game of life, delivered straight to your inbox. Do not face the climb alone. Subscribe today and let us reach the summit together.